Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I'm going to have a go at this Masdevallia that I bought at Wisley, mainly because it's climbing out of the pot. Pot's too small for it, you don't hear me say that very often. And it's also probably in old, tired, going off type moss, I suspect. And a lot of the roots that should have gone into media have ended up drying up because they're around the top of the pot where it's too high. So I've done the camera over the shoulder again, but as this is quite a small plant, we will come in a bit closer and we'll see what we can do. I know it comes out of the pot easily because I've already tried it to have a look and see what the roots were like. So there was obviously a bit of bark that was crocking. The moss is very, very compacted, so we're going to take the majority of that out. It's not exactly a root system inside this moss, so it's not a big deal. The moss around the edge is a bit looser, the stuff in the centre is solid. I don't want to go mad. A little bit of moss staying behind won't matter too much because it's going to go into bark, and therefore all of the new roots that will come down, mainly down the side of the pot, are going to go into the new media. And yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get much more out without doing damage. Trouble is that the compacted moss that's around the base of the plant, if there are any new roots already starting, that's where they are. You start poking about in that area, you're liable to snap the growing tips off, and you might not even know you've done it, so I'm not going to do any more than that. There are some new growths, there are signs of new growths in places. This plant would split nicely into two, but I'm going to leave it as a single plant. We have got a couple of leaves that could do with coming off. Two came off there. There we go, so that leaves the nice green ones. You can see there, that plant would naturally divide there. Maybe next time round. There was a bit of bark in there. So that's the rubbish. Now I'll have a look and see if I've got a clean pot that will fit that. If not, I will clean one up, and as usual, I'll be back. Okay, got myself a pot. I put some medium bark in round the air cone. It's only a small air cone, but it's got large drainage holes. You have to bear in mind that when this plant is in the pot, most of these roots have not got growing tips, and there aren't many of them. So the bottom of the pot is liable to stay wet. So by crocking it and having plenty of air holes, it won't stay soggy, it will dry. I'll put a bit more larger stuff. Now this media that I'm using came out of a bag, so it's leftover bits from stuff that I've used before, but it's got a bit of medium bark in it, but the majority of it is small bark and perlite, which is fine. There's some bits of moss in here as well, which I'd rather not have, but not enough to worry about. Of course, every time I rake it over, a few more bits of moss come to the surface. There's even some stones in here from somewhere in the past. So this is just using up media that was left over from previous potting sessions. It's not old media, it's perfectly good, there's nothing wrong with it. So we will put some in the bottom, and then we will sit the plant on there. I'm going to twist it so that the roots twist a little bit and allow the plant to go down. I want this plant relatively deep in the pot, if possible. The reason I want it deep in the pot is that it's a relatively shallow rooting plant, and if it sits too near the top of the pot, all the water will flow over the edges and the media will get washed out and everything. But I'm not packing it down hard. There is no need. But I do want it to stay upright, so we'll have to push a little bit down the side there. And I think that will do it. So all of those roots that were exposed are now in the media. The base of the plant is still at the level of the top of the media. The base of the plant is not buried. And if you do go a little bit deep with the Masdevallia, but it's in mainly bark, there's no need to worry that much and panic, because when you water it, that bark at the surface will dry incredibly quickly until it becomes old. Once it gets old, it will start retaining moisture longer, but while it's in the state it's in now, shiny new, and at least a year's worth, if not two, it will dry relatively quickly at the surface. Tiny little gap there, we'll fill that in. So there we go. You can't see any roots, because when I twisted them, it draws them into the middle of the pot, which allows the new media to go around the outside of those roots. So those roots are not right on the edge of the pot. So I've just cut a couple of big bits right on the surface there, which I've just removed and replaced with small. So again, I shall give that a really good watering now. And there's some other Masdevallias that have not long been repotted that are in bark and perlite. They are drying quite quickly, so I have to look at them a little more frequently than I would normally do for my cooler, shadier set, just for the first 2 or 3 months, because they're in new bark. So that was very easy. I wish all of the stuff was as easy as that. I'll keep the label it came with till I do my own new one. So we'll just pop that back in so we don't forget what it is. And I've got a black pot ready. And there we go. So that can go on the Masdevallia shelf, which is, yes, we've still got room. It's a single shelf that's just got Masdevallias on it. It doesn't always work out like that, but this time it has. I mean, there's 5 plants there. There was 6, but I lost one a few weeks ago, I think now. So this will take it back up to 6, and there's still room for more. I always look along the lines with things that quite, like to stay reasonably moist and would prefer a bit more humidity. When they're reasonably well packed together, all of the humidity that's coming off of the pots collects around the pots. It's like a collective of humidity because of their closeness, because they're close together. Anyway, that's that one done. Another one to tick off the list. Slowly but surely the list goes down. Trouble is, if I keep getting new plants, it goes back up again. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.